Within the NB generation, you have two models. I've seen several videos that compare the NB1 and NB2 Miata, but always from an American perspective. In my view, those comparisons are incomplete because they are ignoring other markets like Europe and Asia. If you are aware of the differences, you will benefit from that knowledge. It helps you make better decisions when you seek to buy or upgrade your Miata or MX-5. When I started looking for my first MX-5, I really had no clue. I could barely tell the difference between the American and European models. In retrospect, I think I was lucky to get it right the first time. During the preparations for this video, I found over 50 differences between the NB1 and NB2 Miata and their European counterparts. I'm sure that if I list all of them here, nobody will make it to the end of the video. Therefore, I will take a different approach to get the message across. Personally, I like to look at the potential for upgrades, but I realize you might want to go in the other direction and want to downgrade because you want the best performance on track. When it comes to the exterior of the car, you can basically make an NB1 look like an NB2 or vice versa. The headlights and front bumpers are different on both versions, but if you keep those together as a set, there's no problem apart from the wiring modifications. You might prefer the more rounded design of the NB1 or the sharper design of the NB2, but the performance of the NB2 projector headlights is better. Front fog lights are rare on the NB1 and even on the NB2 in Europe, but they were standard on the NB2 in the US. When I mention the NB1, I'm referring to the model years 1999 and 2000. The NB2 is the facelifted version for the model years 2001 up to 2005 until the NC was introduced. From a European perspective, there is a lot of upgrade potential in the Tupperware department. So on the MX-5 you may find mudguards, but no spoilers, side skirts, splitters and other things you may find in American appearance packages. So if you see those parts in Europe, it is because someone upgraded the car. There is also some upgrade potential in the taillights. The NB1 has NA-like taillights with amber lenses. As part of the facelift, clear lenses replaced the amber lenses. You can fit whatever taillights you like best. In the US, the taillights are symmetrical because there are two backup lights. In Europe, it is always asymmetrical because there's only one backup light on the passenger side and the rear fog light on the driver's side. I like symmetry, so I decided to upgrade my taillights by using a driver's side taillight from an English car and then place a red LED behind the clear lens for the rear fog light. Hardtops are identical and therefore interchangeable, but softtops are a different story, and I found out the hard way. After buying a crashed car for its interior, I was trying to sell the softtop, but the frame was bent beyond repair. In total, I bought 3 frames before I had the correct one. The softtop frames and tops for the NA, NB1 and NB2 are different. Moving on to the interior, there is a wide variety of seats. NB1 seats in the US look entirely different from the ones in Europe, even those that were used for the same 10th anniversary edition. In Europe, the headrests were not integrated. Some people claim those seats are more comfortable than the NB2 seats that provide more support. In Europe, the NB2 seats with leather upholstery are heated. Those heated seats were never offered in the US, but could be a nice upgrade. I've made a separate video on that topic. The center consoles are interchangeable as well, but it clearly depends on your personal preference. With the NB1, you get more storage space, a weak hinge and impractical cup holders. The NB2 alternative has a more modern design with 2 cup holders and a smaller storage compartment. You might, however, find your elbow fighting with the lid of a cup holder. The steering wheels on all MBs are basically identical, unless you have one of the rare 4-spoke steering wheels. On the airbag or lower spoke, there might be a Nardi logo. On later models, the airbag always had the Mazda logo. The radios on the NB1 Miata are different from what was installed in the European MX-5s, which were equipped with a single DIN radio combined with a digital clock and small storage space. On the NB2, the stock radios were double DIN and roughly the same for all markets. The wind blocker of the NB2 changed over time because rear speakers were added. For some special editions there was also a design bar with a soundboard in the middle. In one of my project cars the wind blocker was missing, but eventually I was able to find one in the correct color in the US. On arrival it turned out to have a small Bose amplifier in it. Probably I'm the only one in Europe to have that now, because I've never seen it here before. The gauge faces in the instrument cluster went from black to white. Again, this is a personal preference. On the late NB2 models, Mazda introduced the low fuel light, and if you like, you can see that as an upgrade opportunity for the instrument cluster. The space under the HVAC panel will instantly indicate whether it is an American or a European NB. If there is a passenger airbag switch, it must be American. In Europe, you will find a switch for the headlight height adjustment in that location, and to the left of that switch, there will either be a switch blank, a rear fog light switch, or the heated seats switches. The US never had height adjustable headlights, but you could retrofit those when you buy a set of headlights and a matching switch from Europe. It is used on the NB1 as well as on the NB2, but the switch and wiring are slightly different. By now, you should be able to tell whether you are looking at a European or US version of the NB1 or NB2. Therefore, it's time to dive a bit deeper and look at what's going on from a driver experience perspective. The US only had 1.8 liter engines, whereas Europe also had an upgraded version of the 1.6 liter NA engine that was always combined with a 5-speed gearbox. Only top-end models and some special editions had a 6-speed gearbox paired with a 1.8 liter engine. When you consider upgrading and boosting the engine for maximum power, the NB1 1.8 liter engine appears to be the best foundation. The NB2 1.8 liter engine, on the other hand, has the variable valve timing, also known as VVT, that provides better mid-range torque. The VVT engines can easily be recognized when looking for the solenoid on top of the valve cover near the front of the engine. Upgrading from a 1.6 to 1.8 liter NB2 engine is a serious option for NA, NB1 and NB2 owners in Europe. The NB1 either had an open diff or a torsion limited slip differential. That remained the same for the NB2 until Mazda replaced the torsion diff with the Tochigi Fuji Super Diff. The torsion diff is better, but Mazda wanted to save costs and be able to make it available for more versions of the car. On the NB2, Mazda introduced chassis bracing. In Europe, it was only used on cars with the sport suspension. You can easily install the chassis braces on any NB2, but not on the NB1 unless you make it fit. It makes the chassis more rigid, which results in better road handling with more stability in fast corners. The further we go into this video, the more it becomes clear that the comparison is about pure versus mature. Imagine you buy a very basic version of the NB1 Miata and find out you have no power steering, no ABS, no air conditioning, no cruise control, no fog lights, not even power windows, power mirrors, or a power antenna. To some, that may sound like the ideal basis for a track car. but it would currently not be the right car for me. Over time, the NB gradually matured, and more things were added to improve comfort and convenience, but also safety and security. The AC systems in both versions are different and are rare on European cars. Cruise control, one of my favorite topics, was not available for Europe, but since retrofitting it on my MX-5 in 2019, I've been able to help many owners with that. It's practically the same for both versions. The ABS systems are different though. Those remained optional in the US but became standard in Europe. The NB1 has an ABS module in the interior and the hydraulic unit in the engine bay. After the facelift, it was combined in a single unit in the engine bay. Mazda has used small brakes and big brakes on the MB2. In Europe, the big brakes were used on the MB2 with the 1.8 liter engines, but also on special editions with a 1.6 liter engine and sport suspension. I found out too late when selling the remains of a parts donor. The people who bought the chassis brought 13 or 14-inch wheels to transport the car, but those wheels didn't fit over the calipers. Then I knew I made a mistake and should have kept the brakes as spares for my other MB2. But there's more you need to know about safety. I mentioned the passenger airbag switch earlier. That switch doesn't exist in Europe. Instead, there is a sensor in the passenger seat that measures whether the seat is being used or not. Based on that measurement, it determines if the airbag must be deployed in case of an accident. But it also means that you cannot use certain baby seats, and the sticker in the door opening will remind you of that. On the MB2, Mazda also added a crash sensor behind the front bumper and seatbelt pretensioners to increase your safety. You don't see those safety features, but the additional protection is there when you need it. Before I elaborate on added security, I want to mention some changes that the MB2 had that were done for your convenience. Let's start with the power window switch. On the MB2, that switch has an auto down function for the driver's side window. If you have an MB1, you can use that MB2 switch as well, after reversing the order of the wires in the connector. On the last series, the sun visors were equipped with vanity mirrors for the driver's side and the passenger side. That might be an easy upgrade if you want those. A rare option in the US that was never offered in Europe is the auto-dimming rearview mirror with a compass and ambient temperature display. A friend of mine managed to get one from the US and installed it on his NB2, including the temperature sensor behind the front bumper. More convenience is added by power locks. The basic solution for the NB1 falls short when compared to the keyless entry solution on the NB2. That system enables you to open or close the doors and open the trunk using a remote control key fob. Opening the trunk can be done using the key, the levers in the center console, and on the MB2 using the key fob. What I did not know was that in the US, the MB2 also has a trunk release lever inside the trunk. I'd never seen that before. Additional security was added by introducing an immobilizer system in the MB2 in the US. I think Europe got this slightly earlier on the NB1, maybe already in 2000. Transponder chips were added to the keys to make them unique. The immobilizer and ECU will together check the numbers and decide whether the car is allowed to start or not. Some final differences I want to mention are the lack of OBD2 for diagnostics on early NB1 models in Europe, and a difference in the flasher modules for the NB1 and NB2. Expect to learn more about a flasher module upgrade in the near future. Therefore, I recommend subscribing to the channel if you have not done that already. Please let me know which one you like most, the pure NB1 or the mature NB2. Give the video a like if you enjoyed it, and use the comment section below for all your questions and remarks. Thanks for watching MX5 Info, and until next time.